Catherine, if you can give me a shout whether you can see my slides.
Yes, I can see it. And maybe the participants, the attendees can also tell us if they can see them on the chat, please. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. I'll just go ahead if you can see them. So the key discussion points I'll give today are about the identification, preparation, putting the scholarship together, or rather the application, validation, and then how finalizing the application. But by way of introduction, I'll just give a summary of my journey so far. So I started with a bachelor's. It was a mixed bachelor's master's at the University of Karachi. And I got that with a partial scholarship because it was subsidized fee paying. And then I went over to do a master's in epidemiology through the WHO TDR postgraduate scholarship that supports implementation science. So this is within the Public Health Department of the University of Witwatersrand. And that was a full scholarship, and currently studying health economics and decision science through a full Wellcome Trust scholarship here in the UK. So as I mentioned, these, in my opinion, are the important steps that you go through, when you're making a scholarship application, and how you go about these steps are actually what can, determine the success of your application. So I'll start with identification. So this basically is the step where you find out details about the scholarship that you are applying for. Sorry. So there are many scholarships available out there, and to find a scholarship, you actually have to do a bit of research. You have to know what sources will you use to get the scholarship. So majority of the scholarships that are available out there are normally available online, and you get these through social media sites and scholarship sites. And then, of course, you can actually just Google and find out based on the field of study that you are looking for. So some of the, scholarship sites include like the Chevening, the Commonwealth scholarships, the Gates Cambridge, the Rhodes scholarships. Those ones you just need to search them by name. So how you find out about them could be through social media mostly, or Googling. But then one important tip that I found out is that if you join, subscribing to social media sites could be a very good strategy to find out about these scholarships. So a lot of scholarships, I get to find out about them through LinkedIn or Twitter. So you can make use of the search bars on Twitter or LinkedIn, whereby you can just type scholarships. And the good thing about LinkedIn, it brings people and pages. So you will find a lot of scholarship pages. You'll find a lot of people who can actually direct you to these scholarships. And I've just pasted some examples there. So the bottom left one is mainly someone who regularly shares scholarships on LinkedIn. Of course, Catherine, Paul, myself, you will find occasionally that we talk about scholarships on Twitter or LinkedIn. This is a Twitter page on the bottom right, Scholarship Region. And that's just one of them that I did a quick search on Twitter and found it, and you'll get thousands of pages. So you have to know the type of scholarship you're looking for. So is it full? Is it partial scholarship? What are the policies of these scholarships? Some scholarships, for example, Chevening, they scholarships that will require you to return back to your country, but there are scholarships that they don't have that condition. So you need to, as you apply, you need to take into account those things, where is it offered? So you need to look at the regions that the scholarships are offered. Most people sort of focus on the high, like the Western countries, but there are a lot of scholarships that are also offered in, Nordic countries and Australia and Africa as well, in South Africa. So, and which are quite prestigious as well. So you also need to look at where exactly is offered. Don't limit yourself to a place, but of course, do consider the future outlook of your career. So sometimes when you go to places like Europe, to places like America, Australia, of course, it's a function. There are many more opportunities in terms of progressing in your career, and you need to grab them. So you need to think about that. Look at the deadline. Make sure you give yourself reasonable time to do the applications, because scholarship applications are actually a process, and it's just not something that you wake up and just snap your finger. You have to really plan very well, and it takes a lot of time. You need to do soul searching, whether the scholarship suits you in terms of the field that the scholarship supports, because sometimes you may have done something and you're applying for a scholarship that is way out of the range of the field with regards to what you've done before. So the closer you are to your background, the more likely, because of course the people who are assessing your application will need to see that there is a link between what you've done before and what you're doing, you're planning to do. So reflect on the pros and cons, and once done, you need to apply as soon as possible. And this one, I'm talking about the admissions mainly, rather than the main scholarship application form, because sometimes it's good to start the admission process early, sometimes showing that you already have admission when you're applying for scholarship, or you've already applied for admission, gives you a better chance of being considered. So preparation, this is actually the most important step, in my opinion. So in order for you to make a successful application, you need to really prepare very well, and you need to have a deeper dive into the requirements. You need to have a folder in your computer that you have put all the requirements, and you have, arrange them in good order, so that while you're doing the application, it is a seamless sort of process, and you know where you're coming from and where you're going. The main requirements basically for scholarships are your academic footprint, so your entire academic experience or background. Then a personal statement or essay. Most scholarships require that. Some will require an interview, especially the PhD scholarships may require you to present something, or sort of they need to gauge your understanding of what you're presenting. And then most scholarships require you to have some sort of test results. Mostly it's the English, but I know some scholarships in the US, they require you to do some exams like GRE or GMAT. So you need to know what exams you need to do, whether it's English, whether it's GRE, and how to prepare for that. And then your CV and letters of reference. So what will it take to gather what you need? So you need to check the time requirements, how much time you have, the resource requirements. So that is like, do you need to pay anything? Do you need to, do you need to get certain things that you may need to apply, how to put together your personal statement, information about the English tests, information about, and the people. So you need to find out who can be of help in order to support your application, because the more you have, people who can mentor you through the process, then it really helps to give you a strong application. And that's probably a motivation for the initiative that we have started, so that we can be able to sort of mentor people through that. And then having a checklist and timeline. So you need to have a checklist and you need to have a timeline that you are always referring to in order to be on time and in check with everything that you need. Then you need to familiarize yourself with the application portal, and that one you can get a lot in the scholarship information pages, which you also need to read in depth. So when you're applying for a scholarship, you just don't quickly go to the application. Most people just, you get the scholarship application, you realize you need a personal statement, what, and then you just start applying without familiarizing yourself with what bits and pieces you need. When you familiarize yourself, you can tune your mind and better, plan your application. So I'll just talk a bit more on the specific items that I've mentioned in the previous slide, just to give some pointers. So the academic footprint, it really does have to stand out. You need to make sure that you have outlined each and every academic experience that you have gone through. So it's not only the degrees or the courses that you've taken, or the programs that you did, bachelor's at bachelor or master's level, but you also need to highlight the courses, the trainings, you need to highlight the workshops and conferences that you've undertaken. And also an important thing is about publishing. And publishing here, I mean, it can either be an article in a peer-reviewed journal, but if you don't have experience with an article in a peer-reviewed journal, sometimes things like if you have written a blog, if you have written an opinion about something, if you have you have engaged in some important discussions that are fruitful to the society, things that you do in leadership programs, you have presented somewhere, you have volunteered and you have talked to young people, those things that you may overlook, you need to really make them come out, because all those things are experiences. And then your personal statement, basically you need to have more than one draft. So you need to have an initial draft, and then, as I said, you borrow from experienced people, so you can try and find people who may have gone through the process before, who can actually just give you pointers and probably improve what you're actually putting together. So it's important to highlight your background experience. I know for Chevening there's leadership and networking, which I know Paul will talk about in depth. The study and career plans. So you need to really highlight what problem you want to solve in the community. What's your vision and your mission for studying what you intend to study, and the fact that you want to be supported by a scholarship. It has to be clear and actually tells a story. Someone needs to see a key takeaway. So it should be a kind of statement where, if you give to someone, they can clearly see a story of your path throughout your life, and both academic and experiential. And then for interviews, it requires preparation. So the key thing for interviews, make sure you do a dry run or a mock interview, and that can be done by someone who is experienced in the field of what you're presenting. Maybe you're told to present a research topic or your proposal in a few minutes. So make sure that you do a dry run more than once at least, so that you are confident that you can, pass the information as, in a very clear and concise manner and confidently. The CV, you need to, the CV is also very important, basically, because it highlights a lot of things about your experience and background in a very summarized way. So you need to know how best to make your CV stand out. And this I will not talk too much because there are a lot of online resources about doing a good CV, but it has to be something summarized and actually brings out your experiences that are more important and inclined to what you're applying for. So if you are applying for an academic program, let's say in a health field, and probably earlier in your career you have done things that are really not health inclined, but may have sort of like a health aspect to it. Maybe you started off with these part-time things of just selling or doing sales or something like that. So perhaps you may have sold some health products in addition to many things that you did. So don't just say you are selling sweets or things that are not really inclined to what you're intending to do. So just focus. If it's a health program you're applying a master's to, then I would just focus my experience. The lead things that come out of my CV will always be things related to health, whether it's internships or something that is linked to that. So always have someone also to look at it, and there are a lot of people who, even professionals who specialize in improving CVs for people. So make sure you put an effort to make it better. Then reference letters, make sure you start early, and of course you need either both academic and professional reference letters. So this is something that you need to just start requesting for these letters early. And most of the people who provide reference letters sometimes may be quite busy. So sometimes it may be useful to even have a draft and then sort of like a small starting outline of your experience that you can share with the senior, whether it's a professor or your boss at work, your previous boss at work, so that they can just fill in based on how they view you, because of course the reference letter has to be their voice and not yours. So that's not that you're writing for them what you want them to say. Of course they would not do that, but you are just summarizing your experience for them, so that when they now come to reflect on you, they have a starting point. So not just writing an email, please write for me a reference letter. Okay, you can request it first, but then please follow up with, if you realize that they are really busy, then you can follow up with that would be a good strategy. For tests, the tests always have practice materials. Always practice before you do them, whether it's IELTS, TOEFL. The English test, sometimes they say, of course, people from many of our countries, we do a lot of things in English, and it may be even, people have questioned the need for universities to ask for these tests. But then when you go there, you realize, okay, it's still something that you cannot assume, since you need to practice, you need to prepare. regardless of how highly you believe in your English speaking skills. So make use of the practice materials, and it will be very useful. So putting it together, so once you have everything regarding what I've just talked about, you know, the CVs, the letters of reference, the motivation statement, and everything else, then you must finalize. And then this is the time where you review the checklist again, and then check whether you have everything to submit the application, and make sure that you know, whatever you have now a final submission folder where you have all the latest versions, because sometimes if you're working with a lot of versions and you don't have proper version control, you might submit an earlier version and mess, you know, it may mess it up. For some scholarships, they already have their own places where you now paste the information. So if those ones are much easier, because your drafts will just be sources of information that you'll use to paste into the system. And then you need to give enough time for filling in the application form, and always remember to save and revisit before you continue to the next step, because sometimes if you forget to save, it might set you back, and it's a very grueling process that can be really frustrating. And then you need to validate your application. So it's very important. So you need to make sure that mentors or people who are more experienced have provided input in your CVs, in your essays, in your presentations, and then always do a test run for the interviews. And then once this just gives you the confidence that, okay, whatever you are putting together is really something that is robust, and it increases your confidence that, okay, I have submitted a good application. So, you know, whatever scholarship application you do, just do it to the best of your ability. It will not make any sense if you just apply for the sake of applying, because if you don't do your best, then the chances that you'll not get it increase, because, you know, everybody is applying, and of course there will be people who have done their best. So just to begin with, you know, if you have not given your best, that is also something that, you know, you already have introduced some doubt. So whatever application you're doing, just do it to the best, provide everything that they need. You know, don't just write something as a by the way and hope for the best. Even, yeah, we do believe in prayer, but also God helps those who help themselves. So you have to really, you know, make sure you've done your best, and then just submit it all to God, and He will do the rest. But make sure you've done your best. So to finalize, once everything you have it together, then you can then submit the application, of course, through the submission portal. And for things like Chevening, of course, you feel like as you go, and or Commonwealth. But then those important bits like the motivation, like your CVs and everything should be in place as you go into the submission system. And then you have to be positive. Don't look at the scholarship application process with a pessimistic mind that I will not get it, that it is the UK, or, you know, it's a university that is of really high standing, you know, like Oxford or Cambridge or whatever. But really just go to it with the confidence that you have submitted a strong application and you have done everything that they need to submit it. Basically, my version of success for a scholarship application is not really actually getting it. Basically, it's what you gain from the application process, because the more applications you submit, like good, strong applications that you have really paid attention to everything they need, the more your chances of getting them, because you learn one thing or two from the different requirements of different scholarships. So you shouldn't be distraught if you get one rejection or two, but the fact is you need to just keep applying. So for me, success is just doing your best in the application. Make sure that when you have finished the application, you won't go and want to take a cup of tea and remember you didn't do something, or you just are at peace that one I've done my best and it's done. And you learn from the application. I can, if I start showing you the rejections that I've gotten over time, I think we can stay here for a while, because I have, I've applied for so many scholarships, and, in life I've only gotten 3. So you can see that out of thousands, hundreds, you will still get to where you need to go. Basically, it's just the focus and learning from one application. So sometimes the good thing about these applications, they are yearly. So you apply for this one, you fail. Of course, you focus on others that are open, but then the same application will come the next year, and you will not do the same level, the same quality that you did this year. You'll do a better quality, and you just keep doing that. So for me, the PhD journey, I think I started, it was about 3 years, because I finished my master's in about 2017, 2018, and I've been working, and I joined this PhD in 2021. So between 2019 and 2021, I intentionally had a vision of actually, or of getting the PhD, a PhD scholarship, which is a full scholarship. And then I did have the mission of just putting in, collecting what I need over time. And patience is key. So basically, you just need to be really patient, but also focused on what you want to do. Because the good thing is it provides hope. So you'll never lose hope if you're taking advantage of the opportunities. Most of them are just freely available. It's about knowing about them. But as I said, sign up to social media sites, LinkedIn, Twitter, and just be searching for scholarships, and Google. And then, of course, make use of, follow people like Catherine, who is really vocal about these things, and many other people who are keen on sharing scholarships. So basically here I'm just encouraging that don't ask yourself questions, what ifs and but or what. That's why I put this red of, if I don't get it, if I don't. Those ones actually just cause anxiety and dim the goal. So yeah, I'll finish by saying the more applications you do, the better. So take advantage of it. Most of them just open up during this time, because the next intake will be next year, September. So over time, there will be more applications opening up. We will be sharing them on social media. Catherine will give details before we close this. And I think that is it from my side. I'll hand it over back to Catherine, and thank you for your audience.
Wow, thank you so much. I think I'm so inspired personally, and I believe that even everyone who is listening to you has been encouraged. I think for me, it's been, the parting shot that rejections are never an end. Out of it comes direction. So, and I think even going forward, we will get to hear from Paul how competitive these scholarships are. So that basically means that you're likely to get a good number of rejections, But like Elvis has said, that your attitude is really important.